Now, it is the last week of campaigning before the American elections. Polls suggest a very close race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Indeed, Trump is due to speak imminently in Florida from his home in Mar-a-Lago. Those are live images from him there on the stage where he's expecting to address supporters. Let's cross live and listen to the start of what Trump has to say.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Such great spirit. I want to start by saying it's going very well. There are some bad spots in Pennsylvania where some serious things have been caught or in the process of being caught, but the election itself is going very well. We're leading, I believe, in all 7 swing states. So I appreciate everybody's work, and the spirit is unbelievable. I don't think there's ever been anything like it in our country's history, frankly, because we want to see our country get better. And that's why we're here, just to do a statement. And it's an honor to have some of our friends here. In less than 4 years, Kamala Harris has obliterated our borders, obliterated. We've never had a situation like this. Decimated the middle class, and runaway inflation has caused problems the likes of which we never thought possible. Bloodshed, squalor to our cities is common, and they've unleashed a war and chaos all over the world. You take a look, everything's blowing up or getting ready to blow up. No respect for our country anymore, no respect for our leadership. No person has caused so much destruction and death at home and abroad should ever be allowed to be the President of the United States. You can't have that. Can't have that. So I'm running on a plan to save America. We're going to save America. We have no choice. It's the greatest there is. We love it, and we're going to save it. We have no choice. And it's going to be saving it from the incredible destruction that's been caused by crooked Joe Biden and Kamala. And she's responsible because he wasn't responsible, and she never said that. He didn't know too much about what was happening. Maybe that was exposed during the debate. And yet still, the way they took that away from him was not right. It wasn't right. Shouldn't have happened that way. They walked in, they said, we're taking it away. They stole the presidency of the United States. You can call it a coup, you can call it whatever, but they stole it. They went in like taking candy from a baby, and can't have that. And she's running on a campaign of demoralization and really a campaign of destruction. But really, perhaps more than anything else, it's a campaign of hate. It's a campaign of absolute hate. And, you know, I said yesterday that she's a vessel. She is a vessel. It's a very big, powerful party with smart people. I have to be smart. But it's vicious. They're vicious, and they're perhaps even trying to destroy our country. Because who would want open borders where millions of people can flow in from prisons and from gangs, the worst gang members anywhere in the world? Who would want this for our country? Who would want all of these transgender operations all over the place, like at will? Even if you're in detention, I want a transgender. These are things she stood for. Who wants to defund the police? She's wanted her whole career to defund the police. She only changed recently. She changed on 15 different items. Fracking. She was against fracking at the highest level. Wouldn't even think about it. Now all of a sudden, oh, I'd like fracking very much. But they change after the election in about 2 minutes, and I think Pennsylvania understands that. After 2 assassination attempts in just over 3 months, her lies and her slanders are very shameful and really inexcusable. And I can say that if I were president and somebody was being threatened, openly threatened, like they've threatened me, I would say, if you do that, even if this was an opponent, an opponent who I disliked. If you do that, we will obliterate your entire country, and it would all stop. But they wouldn't make that statement. They won't make that statement. And essentially, that statement has been made by other presidents, even concerning their opponents, as you know. Today, we're going to talk about the real character of Kamala, and a person who has no remorse for the anguish she's inflicted upon families all across America. On the contrary, I have to tell you, Kamala intends to conflict and keep this misery going, and she's going to keep it going as long as she can, because that's the only way she can get elected. She's going out and only criticizing, talking about Hitler and Nazi, and because her record's horrible. Her borders are the worst in the history of the world. There's never been a border in the world like this. I always say in third world countries, banana republics, they'd fight them away with sticks and stones if they had to. We let them come in, come on in. Knowing in many cases they're murderers, they're drug lords, they're traitors in so many ways to our country. If they were involved in our country at all, even that, they're coming back in. People that left because they were traitors are coming back in. Everybody's coming back in. And it's at a level that we've never seen before. Criminals off the streets. And you know, other countries from where they're coming are now setting records, good records for them, where crime is down 70 and 75%, because they're taking the criminals off the street. They're emptying their jails into our country. And they're not finished yet. I'm amazed. I thought they would have done it by now, but if you take a look at Venezuela, their crime is way, way, way down. Then you go to Caracas and you wouldn't recognize it. You can actually walk the streets without being shot or killed or mugged. It's becoming a safe city because they've taken all their criminals, most of them, the rest are coming. They're all coming. They've taken their drug dealers and they've put them into the United States of America. Thank you very much, Kamala. I appreciate it. But she continues, and she will continue this misery, and her policies have caused such harm and such pain. And the three great people up here with me are going to just discuss that for a little while, about what's happened to them, how their lives have been shattered. I'd like to begin with the story of one mother whose life Kamala has utterly destroyed this life. And we're talking about thousands of people in very similar situations. Every day under Kamala, open border policies. And if you remember, Joe Biden appointed her as the border czar. She doesn't want to use that term, but let's say we'll just use a different term. She was responsible for the borders, totally responsible. She never made one call to Border Patrol. 2 weeks ago, the Border Patrol endorsed me with the most beautiful endorsement I think I've ever gotten. And in all fairness, they've endorsed me every single year, but they've endorsed me again, and they endorsing me, saying I was the best president we've ever had and the best president by far on the border. They said that, and this is not easy for them to say, they said that she was easily the worst person ever to work with them on the border, most incompetent, the least caring. Think of it, not one call in almost 4 years was made to Border Patrol, like, how are we doing? I used to call all the time. I'd say, how are we doing, fellas? How's it going? Is it going well? And they're great people. Men and women, Border Patrol, great people. They want to do their job. She didn't call them once. She released the two men who murdered this woman's very precious daughter. Everything you need to know about what happened and the character of Kamala Harris, you'll know from just watching this video. We had it done yesterday. It's very quick, very easy to do, but it was very heartbreaking. We showed it in a room full of people, and everybody was crying. Some pretty tough people were crying. Please take a look.
Sunday night, I asked her to not stay up super late because of her coming to work with me in the morning first to do her summer school. She said, okay. I told her good night and I love you. I went to bed, not realizing that that was going to be the last time I saw her.
We're best friends.
Yeah.
We're going shaking again.
I woke up to notice she wasn't in her bed. I'm in my heart trying not to lose my mind because I don't know where she is. I finally remembered her phone had a location on, and her phone was pinging just 2 minutes down the road, right behind the skate park. I start driving to the direction.
All right, we are going to dip out of that live address there by Donald Trump in Florida. He's been speaking at Mar-a-Lago at his resort there. Trump characterizing Kamala Harris's campaign as one, quote, of destruction and hate. He went on then to double down on a number of false claims he's made in the past, including that he won the election in 2020 and about the number of criminals, he said, were entering the United States. Well, with me now, Kethevane Gorjestani, our foreign editor, former US correspondent as well. And look, Trump is still very much talking today. This is an ongoing speech, but your thoughts so far on the kind of language that he's using?
I think it was very interesting to see how he pivoted from the beginning of his remarks to later on, because at the beginning he was really reading off his paper, supposedly a campaign speech that was written, and you could see what has been the sort of a campaign message that his team has tried to put him on, which is talk about the border, talk about the economy, talk about the wars around the world. And that's what he mentioned. He mentioned that the border had been obliterated by Kamala Harris, that she had decimated the middle class, and that there was chaos around the world, capping that off, as you said, by calling this a campaign of hate. And then, as Donald Trump does, he goes off script, off prompter, off paper, and he started talking at the same time about the transgender surgeries in jail, as well as this country being overrun by murderers and drug lords, traitors coming back in. There was a sort of a mix of all the things that you hear at Donald Trump rallies. But this speech was actually billed as remarks to the press, and a lot of the press was thinking that it might have something to do with the backlash that there's been over the comments at the Madison Square Garden rally that were made by a comedian about Puerto Rico and about Latinos in general. There's been a huge backlash. The campaign has distanced itself from it, but Donald Trump himself has not really addressed the matter, and it seems that there are a lot of Republicans who are trying to get him to talk about it. This is what we thought we were going to get. It seems that he wants to talk more about immigration, and he just played a video of a woman who had lost, it seems, a child to possibly an immigrant criminal or an illegal immigrant criminal, which is part of Donald Trump's message.
Right, Kethevane, and I think we may listen to Trump again in a moment, but just a question for you on, let's stay with Kethevane for a moment, then we'll listen to Trump again in just a few moments. Kethevane, I want to ask you about those comments that the comedian made the other day. This was about the Puerto Rico, really rather racist comments that he made. As you say, we were expecting Trump to talk about that. He hasn't for the moment. How significant do you think that could be in a place like Pennsylvania, where we know there is a big Puerto Rican community?
Look, no one really knows what can move the needle in this election because it's been so close, but there seems to be enough of a fear inside the Trump campaign and among Republicans for them to actually issue a statement. That doesn't happen often, that a Trump campaign statement sort of distances itself from a comment that is seen as controversial. But that is what they did after those comments about Puerto Rico being an island of floating garbage. And there were even more crass comments about Latinos that we can't really air. And they know that this could be a problem. And one of the reasons it could be a problem, and it looks like it's growing as a problem for the Trump campaign is that later on today, he's actually going to be holding a rally in Pennsylvania, in Allentown, and that is a place where there are a lot of Puerto Ricans, and apparently they have shut down schools around the area where that rally is going to take place. The police saying out of an abundance of caution because they are expecting protests around that area for that rally. And just to give you an idea of what we're talking about as far as numbers, there are about 480,000 people, Americans of Puerto Rican descent in Pennsylvania. A lot of them are in and around Allentown where that rally is going to take place. And just as a comparison, we've talked a lot about how it could be a problem for Kamala Harris with the Arab population in Michigan. To compare that, the Arab population in Michigan is about 200,000, and we think that that could be a problem. The Puerto Ricans are 480,000 in Pennsylvania. And so if they feel that this is an attack on them, and that is what turns maybe not people who have decided who to vote for, but a lot of people maybe weren't really involved, didn't really want to vote for Kamala Harris, probably were thinking of staying home. This seems to have garnered at least a lot of traction and a lot of attention.
Kethevane Gorjestani for the moment. Thank you very much indeed. Donald Trump is still speaking live in Mar-a-Lago. Let's listen to a bit more of what it is he has to say.
Was found raped, tied up and strangled to death with a telephone cord in her home. Kayla's murderer was an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member, among the most vicious gangs anywhere in the world. I took him out by the thousands thanks to ICE. We're going to protect ICE. Kamala wanted to defund ICE. We didn't have ICE, we'd never get anybody out. They're tough and they're smart and they love our country. But an MS-13 gang member who was apprehended by Border Patrol, but under the policy of our border czar, Kamala, he was released into the United States to kill. Tammy, please come up and say a few words, please. Thank you. Please.
I just wanted to say that Homeland Security did not do their job. Health and Human Services did not do their job. The Biden-Harris administration did not do their job. If they would have done their job, made that one phone call to El Salvador, my daughter would still be alive today. Kayla was a very beautiful young lady inside and out. She was independent, learning to become independent. She had 2 jobs. She overcame obstacles dealing, with autism and was able to find a job that she loved. She loved animals, especially her cat Oreo, and she cared about the homeless. She loved God and she loved going to church. And her life was just ripped from her 3 days after she celebrated her 20th birthday.
Well, Donald Trump there speaking live in Mar-a-Lago alongside an individual there, a supporter of Donald Trump, telling a personal story there on the stage. Kethevane Gorjestani listening to a bit of that with me. And I suppose, Kethevane, this press conference or this speech he's giving to supporters underscoring for Trump that his key messaging in this last week appears to be focused on immigration on the southern border, even though we're told consistently by pollsters that the most important issue for Americans is actually the economy.
Look, there are 2 things to that point and to the strategy. One is that clearly the economy is the biggest issue for voters, no matter who they are, Democrats, Independents, Republicans. And so, yes, the campaign would love for Donald Trump to focus on the economy, to focus on the middle class, to talk about that because people by and large, feel that they were better off under Donald Trump than they have been under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And so they believe that that would be a great topic to talk about and to focus on until Election Day. The other thing, though, that has to be said is that immigration is also an issue, especially among Republicans. That is an issue that works and that sort of fires up the base. the issue here is that Donald Trump is talking about immigration, but not necessarily the way maybe the campaign would like to talk about immigration. Because when you look at some of the polling and when you look at the interviews done with, especially with Latino voters, there is a specific message on immigration that they agree with. The message about we need to close the border, we need to prevent more people from getting in, we need to deal with the people who are inside the United States. That is something that resonates with even with Latino voters, because a lot of them believe that they came in legally, they did it the right way, and they don't understand why other people are allowed to come in illegally. So that resonates. This message, which is to sort of blame all the violence in the United States on immigrants, whether they're legal or illegal, this is something that the campaign doesn't necessarily want him to do. But Donald Trump clearly has chosen to talk about immigration as immigration and its consequences. In his words, the violence, the death, the killings. And this is something that we've heard in the past when he was talking about the Haitian immigrants who are legally in the United States in Springfield, Ohio, eating the dogs and the cats. When he was talking about the gangs that were taking over Aurora, Colorado, when there was really one incident in one building in the city. When he talks about and he lets these women talk about how their daughters and their sons were killed by illegal immigrants. This is a campaign of fear. Also, he is doing that because this is something that works with a certain part of the population, possibly also the suburban vote. There is a battle there for the suburban vote. A lot of suburban women, for example, feel like they might want to go towards Kamala Harris because of the abortion issue. Immigration and security and the level of violence in the United States is also a message that could work with that same group of voters. But clearly, that is a strategy that Donald Trump has taken. What will be interesting is to see how, to what we were talking earlier, how he talks in Allentown, in Pennsylvania, in an area where there are a lot of Latinos, a lot of Puerto Ricans, how he talks about immigration to that crowd. Here you have a crowd at Mar-a-Lago that is a crowd of supporters, his hardcore base, if you will. We'll see how he changes that tone or that message, if he does, later on tonight.